A week before our wedding, she vanished. No calls. No explanation. Years later, she walked back into my life, saying she had her reasons. I wasn't ready for what they were. I still remember the exact moment I knew she was gone. It was not the silence, not the unanswered texts, not even the fact that she missed the final wedding rehearsal that Thursday night. It was the look on my mother's face when I walked into the church that Saturday afternoon, in a suit that suddenly felt 3 sizes too tight. Everyone turned when they saw me, but she was not there. No calls, no note, just silence. The pews were filled with people holding their breath, waiting for the music to swell, waiting for the doors to open and reveal her in white. I waited too, staring down the aisle like if I wished hard enough, she would walk through those doors smiling, saying something about a flat tire or a broken phone. But the music never played. The doors stayed shut. After 10 minutes of awkward whispers, someone tapped me on the shoulder. The pastor. I do not remember what he said, just that his eyes looked sorry. That was when it hit me, really hit me, that she was not late. She was gone. 1 week before, we had been picking out centerpieces and arguing about the playlist. 2 days before, we had dinner with her parents. Nothing seemed off. Nothing that would explain why she would vanish without a word. I felt a cold crawl down my spine, like I was standing outside myself, watching the whole thing unfold from the ceiling. People started leaving their seats. A couple guests tried to talk to me. My aunt offered me a ride. I did not answer any of them. I just stood there, still waiting. The shame was worse than the heartbreak. I felt like a fool, like I had brought everyone into a lie I did not know I was living. They started packing up the flowers. Some guy rolled up the aisle runner like it was just another job. The church emptied out in under 15 minutes, but I stayed another hour, just sitting in the front row, waiting for a message, a call, something. But my phone stayed quiet, and all I could think was, why? What did I miss? What the hell happened to Emily? And why did she leave without saying goodbye? I did not know it yet, but that silence would stretch on for years. And the answers I thought I needed, those would not come until much, much later. And when they did, they broke me in a whole different way. It is strange what your brain remembers when everything falls apart. I can barely remember my best man's toast or the name of the florist. But I remember exactly how Emily looked when she leaned against our kitchen counter that Monday before the wedding, sipping coffee out of her favorite chipped mug, the one with the cartoon raccoon on it. She was humming, hair tied up in one of those messy buns. No makeup, bare feet tapping lightly on the tile floor. Just relaxed. That morning, we went over the seating chart one more time. She laughed when I suggested putting her cousin Jake next to my Aunt Loretta, said it would be a disaster waiting to happen. I asked her if she was nervous about the big day. She shook her head and said, "Not about marrying you." That line lived in my head for years. We had been together for almost 3 years. Got engaged under a red sky on the Oregon coast, right at sunset. I had the ring in my sock the whole hike because the box was too bulky for my pocket. She cried when I proposed, said yes through the tears. We were not perfect. We had fights, dumb ones, like most couples do, but nothing that ever made me think she would just walk out. That week, everything seemed normal, on the surface, at least. Dress fittings, cake tastings. We even had a stupid debate about vanilla versus red velvet. If she was hiding something, I could not see it. But now, when I look back, I do remember one thing. Wednesday night, I came home late from work. She was already asleep on the couch, but her phone was clutched in her hand, screen still glowing. I nudged her awake, joking that she would fry her brain sleeping like that. She sat up fast, like she had been caught doing something wrong, then laughed it off, muttered something about scrolling through Pinterest for last-minute table ideas. I bought it, because I wanted to. That was the last night we slept in the same bed. The next morning, she was gone early, said she had errands. I left her a note on the counter telling her I loved her. She never responded. By Friday morning, no one had heard from her. Her parents thought she was with me. I thought she was with them. Her phone went straight to voicemail. We waited. We hoped. Saturday came anyway. And so did the guests. What nobody knew, what I could not even admit yet, was that this was not just a no-show. It felt like being erased. And I had no clue what was coming next. Because by Monday, the whispers had already started. Monday morning, I woke up to 37 unread messages. Some from friends. Some from numbers I did not recognize. Most of them said the same thing in slightly different ways. Are you okay? What happened? Is the wedding still on? I had no idea how to answer any of them. I kept staring at my phone, trying to come up with something that made sense. But the truth was, I had no explanation. No note. No reason. Just a phantom where my future used to be. The worst were the ones from people who genuinely cared. My buddy Mike sent 3 messages and left 2 voicemails. My aunt asked if I needed help returning the tuxes. Even Emily's mom texted me, asking if I had heard from her. That one hurt. I told people she must have had a breakdown. That something had gone wrong. That maybe she just panicked. But inside, I kept thinking, what if it was me? What if I missed something? Said something? Did something that pushed her away? People wanted answers. Closure. Gossip. They did not understand that I was still trying to figure out how to breathe. By the end of the week, I had taken down the decorations in my apartment. Every little thing reminded me of her. The Mrs. and Mr. mug set on the shelf. The save-the-dates still stuck to the fridge. The dress receipt she left folded inside a book on our coffee table. I boxed up most of her things. Not out of anger. Just because the silence they left behind was louder than anything I could handle. But I could not bring myself to throw them away. My mom said I should reach out to the police. File a missing person report. But I knew better. Emily was not missing. She was just gone. Intentionally. And that truth stung worse than anything else. Because she could have told me. She could have said something. Even one word. Instead, she chose silence. And that silence became a weight I carried everywhere. Every room I walked into. Every conversation I had. Every time someone looked at me like I was the guy who got left at the altar. I was. And I had no idea how to stop being him. Not yet. People stopped asking after a while. Maybe it was pity, or maybe they just got tired of the same answer. I do not know. But eventually, the text stopped. The calls stopped. The check-ins faded to nothing. And I got good at pretending it was fine. I dove into work like it was some kind of cure. Early mornings. Late nights. Weekends too. Anything to keep my mind from drifting back to her. My boss called it incredible focus. What it really was survival. I stopped going to mutual friends' parties. Could not stomach the way their eyes always flicked to the door, wondering if she might walk in. I unfollowed people on social media. Deleted the wedding hashtag. Burned the playlist we had made together in some dumb fit of symbolic rage. It did not help. Trust? That was the first thing to go. I started second-guessing everyone. Every smile. Every kind word. Every new woman I met. I measured her against the moment Emily left. I kept them all at arm's length. And when they asked why I was so distant, I would lie. Say I was just not ready for something serious. Truth was, I did not believe anyone meant what they said anymore. Because Emily had meant it too. Right up until she disappeared. I told myself I was better off. That I had dodged something worse down the road. But then I would wake up in the middle of the night, convinced I heard her voice in the hallway. I would check the front door like an idiot, heart pounding, part of me still hoping she might come back and explain it all. She never did. 3 years passed. I moved cities. Changed jobs. Even started dating again, sort of. But deep down, there was always a wall. Not made of anger. Not even grief anymore. Just something hard and quiet that said, never again. Then one night, out of nowhere, my phone buzzed with a name I had not seen in years. Emily. No message. Just a missed call. Like she had tested the number. Just to see if it still worked. I stared at the screen for a long time. And that wall I had built? It cracked. The message came the next morning. Simple. Quiet. Like she had not shattered my world and vanished without a trace. Hi. I know I do not deserve it, but I need to explain. Can we talk? I stared at those words for so long my screen went dark. I turned the phone over in my hands like it might offer some kind of clarity if I held it long enough. But all I felt was that old tightness in my chest. Why now? I had imagined this moment. Dozens of times. Maybe hundreds. But in all those versions, I was the one with the power. I was calm, composed, already moved on. In every one, I delivered the perfect line that made her regret everything. But I was not calm. I was shaking. She had chosen to disappear. Chosen silence. And now, like flipping a switch, she wanted a conversation. I did not reply right away. I sat on my balcony that night, staring out at the lights of the city, wondering what she could possibly say that would make any of it okay. I ran through every scenario in my head. Maybe she had cancer. Maybe someone had threatened her. Maybe she had some tragic reason I could not even imagine. Or maybe she had just gotten cold feet. Maybe she left because she could. And that scared me more than anything. Because if she had walked away for no reason at all, it meant I never really knew her. Still, I could not stop myself. I wrote back. When and where? I hit send before I could talk myself out of it. She replied instantly. Tomorrow. Café Harper. Noon. Please. I stared at that last word. Please. Like it meant something. Like it was enough. I closed my phone, sat there in the dark, and realized I was not angry anymore. I was terrified, because this meeting would either give me the answers I had been chasing for years, or it would break me all over again. Café Harper was the kind of place where people brought laptops and ordered coffee with names longer than job titles. I had not been there since before the wedding. She used to love their pastries. I used to love watching her eat them, messy, unapologetic, like joy was something that should never be quiet. I showed up early, not because I was eager, but because I needed to brace myself. Sit alone for a few minutes. Feel the chair under me. Listen to the hum of life around me, just to remind myself I was still part of the world. When she walked in, my breath caught. Emily. She looked older. Not in a bad way, just different. Thinner. Tired. Hair shorter than I remembered. She wore a dark sweater and no makeup. The kind of look someone chooses when they do not want to be noticed. She spotted me, paused for half a second, then walked over. I stood. She did not hug me. I did not offer. We sat across from each other, a chipped wooden table between us. Same table we once used to plan our honeymoon. She looked down, then up. Her eyes were wet but not crying yet. I am sorry, she said. It hit harder than I expected. 3 years of silence, and the first thing she said was what I had needed the most back then. But I did not say anything, just waited. She started slowly. Said she never meant to hurt me. Said she had panicked. That something had changed inside her during the final weeks leading up to the wedding, and instead of talking to me, she froze. She said it felt like she was watching someone else's life play out, and she just stepped out of the frame. I asked her why she never called, never left a note, never gave me the decency of a goodbye. She hesitated, then said the words I never expected. Because I was pregnant, and it was not yours. The world tilted. I sat there, mouth dry, trying to process what she had just said. She went on, voice trembling. Said it had been a mistake. One night, someone she worked with said she did not know how to tell me, so she ran. Said she had the baby, a boy, gave him up for adoption. Said the father bailed the moment he found out. Said she had been living with that guilt every day since. I could barely hear the cafe around us anymore. Just a low buzz in my ears. I had waited 3 years to hear her reasons. And now that I had them, I was not sure I wanted them. She looked at me, eyes wide with hope. I just needed you to know the truth. And maybe we can talk more. Reconnect. Like we were just picking up after a bad vacation. But all I could think was who was this person across from me? Because she was not the woman I had planned to marry. I do not know how long I sat there after she finished. Maybe 5 seconds. Maybe 5 years. Everything inside me slowed down. Like my body was waiting for the right emotion to show up, but none of them wanted to go first. She stared at me with those same eyes I used to dream about. The same eyes that once looked at me like I was home. Now they were just eyes. I asked one question. Why now? She looked down at her cup like it might have the answer. Then said, because I finally stopped being afraid. I almost laughed. Not because it was funny, but because fear was what she had handed me that day she vanished. Fear of not being enough. Fear of being blindsided again. Fear that no matter how hard you love someone, they might still leave. She had been afraid, but she gave me something worse. Silence. And now, years later, she wanted connection. A redo. Closure, maybe. I told her I was glad she found the courage to speak. But that did not mean I had to let her back in. She looked hurt, like she had not considered that I might say no. Then she asked if I still loved her. I could not answer. Because the truth was, part of me probably always would. That part that remembered the raccoon mug, and the soft way she used to say goodnight. That part was stubborn. It held on long after the rest of me had moved forward. But love is not always a door you can reopen. Sometimes, it is a room you walk out of and never return to, because staying would kill you. She reached across the table, but I pulled my hand back. I said, I hope you find peace, Emily. I really do. And I stood up. I walked out of that cafe into the blinding daylight. Not because I was angry. Not because I wanted revenge. But because I finally understood. Some stories do not need a sequel. Some answers are not enough. And sometimes, closure is not about understanding them. It is about understanding yourself. The day after the cafe meeting, I woke up lighter. Not happy. Not healed, but lighter. I made coffee, sat at the kitchen table, and just stared out the window for 20 minutes. No phone, no music, just quiet. For the first time in years, I was not haunted by what-ifs. I was not replaying her silence like a broken record. There was a strange calm in knowing the truth, even if it hurt. I had spent so long holding on to a version of Emily that never really existed. A version where she was scared but kind, conflicted but honest. The real version? She made a choice. And then another one. And then never looked back. I realized I had done the same thing in a different way. I had made choices too, but mine were about staying frozen in place. I wore the abandonment like armor. I let it shape how I moved through the world, how I kept people at a distance, how I flinched at kindness because I assumed it came with an expiration date. But something shifted after that conversation. It was not closure in the clean, satisfying way movies show it. It was messier, more subtle, like turning down the volume on something that had been blaring in your ears for too long. I started taking walks again. No destination, no earbuds, just me. At first, being alone with my thoughts felt like punishment. I would find myself rehashing old moments, wondering if I had missed signs. But after a few days, those thoughts lost their sharpness. They became background noise. Eventually, I started noticing things again, the crack in the sidewalk near my building, the way sunlight filtered through the trees in the park, the neighbor who always waved even when I forgot his name. Little stuff. But it mattered. I cleaned out the last box of wedding things I had shoved in the back of my closet. Invitations, receipts, a photo of us testing the cake samples. I almost kept the raccoon mug. Almost. But I realized I did not need relics from a story that never had a real ending. That mug was just a symbol of someone I used to love. And she was gone. I even went back to therapy. Not because I was broken, but because I wanted to understand how I had stayed stuck for so long. How I had taken someone else's absence and turned it into my identity. One session, my therapist asked, "What would you say to your younger self, the one who got left behind?" I thought about it for a long time. Then I said, I would tell him that he survived. That love did not break him. Silence did not end him. And that he is not defined by the people who left. That moment stayed with me. It became the turning point. I stopped seeing myself as the guy who got abandoned. I started seeing myself as the guy who stayed, who faced it, who rebuilt, quietly, without drama, without fanfare. One morning, I stood in front of the mirror, looked myself in the eyes, and said it out loud. I am still here. It was not movie-worthy. It would not make anyone cry. But it was real. And for the first time in years, real was enough. It came on a Thursday. An envelope in my mailbox, handwritten address, no return label. I almost tossed it, thinking it was another wedding promo or a real estate pitch. But something about the paper, heavier, smoother, made me pause. Inside was a card. Simple, white with gold trim. The kind you only see at weddings or memorials. It was a wedding invitation. Her name was at the top. Not mine. Hers. Emily. And beneath it, someone else's. Different guy. A name I had never heard before. A venue I had never been to. The date was set for late spring. Tucked inside the card was a short note, also handwritten. I wanted you to know I am okay. I hope you are too. You are invited, not out of obligation, but because you were part of my story. And I want to honor that in my own way. No signature. But it did not need one. My hands were still for a long time. I reread that note at least 5 times. Not because I was confused, but because I needed to feel something solid, real, tangible. After all the years of silence, all the questions, here she was again, offering some kind of full-circle moment. I set the card down and walked to the kitchen, poured a glass of water, stared at the faucet like it might offer an answer. Was this peace? Was this forgiveness? Was it guilt? Or was it just another way for her to tie up loose ends and move on with a clean conscience? For the first time in a long while, I was not angry. I was just tired. Not the kind of tired that sleep fixes. The kind that builds up slowly, like dust in corners you forget to clean. The kind that makes you weigh every decision, wondering if it is worth the energy to even care. I did not call anyone, did not rant, did not text my friends for advice. I sat with it. And then I did something simple. I slid the invitation back into the envelope, walked out to the backyard, and buried it under the tree that never bloomed right. Just a few inches down. No ceremony. No words. Not out of spite. Out of release. It felt like closing a book I had reread too many times. One I knew by heart. One I kept hoping would have a different ending. And maybe that is what that invitation really was. Not a gesture of kindness. Not a request for my presence. But the final page. A reminder that her story had moved on. And so had mine. I looked up at the sky, cloudy but calm. A little breeze kicked up dust. The tree above me rustled like it had heard everything I had not said. For a moment, I just stood there, letting it all pass through me. And for the first time, it felt like I was standing at the end of something, not in grief, not in bitterness, but in understanding. There is a kind of silence that does not feel empty anymore. I did not realize it until a few weeks after burying the invitation. One morning, I sat on the porch with a mug of black coffee, no sugar, no cream, just bitter and real. The sun was coming up slow, painting everything gold. And for once, I was not waiting for anything. Not a text, not an apology, not even an explanation. Just sitting, breathing. It hit me then how much space Emily had taken up in my life. Even after she left, I had been carrying her like a weight I forgot to put down. Every choice I made had a shadow behind it. Every step forward came with a glance backward. But now, there was nothing behind me worth turning for. People like to talk about closure like it is this one big moment. One dramatic conversation that fixes the past. But that is not how it happens. Closure is quiet, slow. It creeps in on mornings like this one, when you catch yourself smiling at something simple and realize you are not faking it. I used to think I needed answers. Then I thought I needed justice. But standing here now, on my own 2 feet, I know what I truly need. Peace. Not with her. Not with the past. With myself. I need to stop making space for people who walk out. I need to stop explaining my pain to those who do not care to understand it. And I need to stop letting the worst moment of my life define every other one that came after. Healing, for me, has not been about forgiveness. It has been about reclamation. Taking my life back. Piece by piece. I started spending more time with people who made me laugh without effort. I picked up painting again, not to be good at it, just because it felt like something mine. I opened the windows more. I started saying yes to things that scared me, and no to things that drained me. I even met someone new. Nothing serious yet. Just coffee dates. Long walks. Talks about everything and nothing. She does not know my whole story yet, and for once, I am in no rush to share it. Because what I am building now is not a reaction to the past. It is something entirely new. Something honest. The other day, she asked me what I wanted most in life. I thought for a second. Then I said, I want to feel light. I want to feel like my life fits me. And that is exactly what I am chasing now. Not closure. Not reconciliation. Just a life that fits me. No more waiting. No more wondering. Just this. Coffee in the morning, sun on my face, and a heart that finally feels like it belongs to me again. That is what I truly need now. And for the first time in a long time, I believe I am going to be okay.